Alrighty, so good evening, everyone. I'm Marcel Jackson, CEO of Ambition Center MKE. So welcome. Please tour the space if you haven't been here before. And this is our first collaboration corner of 2022. So we do have a podcast studio space here available, and we're working out some details with Mwanje to produce more podcasts here. But we know that podcasting is something that's super important. If we think about TV was a big wave for a while. Well, it was radio, then TV, and it seems like we're going back to audio. And it's been a lot happening in this space, especially, I believe, YouTube just hired their VP of podcasting, right? Something that wouldn't have existed 2 years ago. So we're early in this space as we get more audio. And we just wanted to really have this to, one, for anyone who's thinking about starting a podcast, or maybe you already have a podcast, or you have a small business, and we can learn details of, hey, I don't want a podcast, but I want to grow my business. I want to reach more clients. How can I do this? How can I leverage? So we have Mwanje here, who is a 3-time podcast host and podcast producer. He produces a ton of podcasts here in the city of Milwaukee. And yeah, I'll pass it over to him.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much. All right, so podcasting for small business, that's what we're here for, right? So first off, I do want to take the time out to thank Ambition Center for this opportunity. Marcel, thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to you all here today. I've seen some of the other Collab Corner conversations as we talked about the website, and I'm just happy to be here. And I didn't realize I was the first, so I didn't even think about that. So that's something else to be excited about as well too. So awesome. But I truly appreciate the space. We talked about the podcast space, looking to get more podcasts in here as well too. And so I'm super excited about that. And thank you all so much for coming out as well too. So a little bit more about myself. My name is Mwanje Thompson. I've been producing podcasts for more than 5 years. As you can see up there on top, if you guys are looking, I got an opportunity to open up for Charlemagne and Andrew Schultz. You know, Charlemagne, the guy from 105.1, The Breakfast Club, and Andrew Schultz, the comedian. He was here in 2017 for the Milwaukee Podcast Festival. So my podcast, Young, Black, and Opinionated, you can see in our shirts there. We got a chance to open up for them, and that was incredible. It was fun. Saw him backstage. Smaller than I thought. Smaller guy, but very humble, real nice guy. Shook everybody's hand. I was like, that's so awesome to see a celebrity of that stature to really talk to everybody and speak to everybody. So it was really cool. I'm also, my daytime job is a program lead for the School of Podcasts at Upgrade Media Art School. It's a brand new charter school. We started in September of last year. My job is to build curriculum around podcasts, but also the media as well too right now. So film, yeah, please interrupt.
Where is that located?
Oh yeah, so we're in Brookfield right now. So Wilson Center in Brookfield. So like I said, we just started last year. We got about 11 students. So we're just starting out, and we also have classes as well too in No Studios on Tuesdays. So we have an opportunity. Come on in if you're coming on in. Come on in. So I'm doing this for my day job, and I do this hopefully for the full-time job. We'll talk about that a little later. And my passion is to tell and share stories through audio. That's what I love doing. I love recording. I love that pre-production of just kind of getting ideas going. You're talking about earlier about your potential podcast, and I just had ideas flowing and what you can do. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. And feel free to interrupt me. That is totally fine. I'm here to ask. If you have questions, I'm here to answer those questions. If there's something that I have not thought of, I will get back to you as well too. I'll talk to Marcel and making sure I get back to people as well. So feel free to interrupt me. If you're going to interrupt me in the chat as well too, go ahead and do that. I'm okay with that. I teach 6th graders all the way up to 12th grade. They interrupt me all the time. So feel free to interrupt me. That is totally fine. So once again, my name is Mwanje Thompson, and I am here to talk about small business. A little bit about my company as well. So Optimistic Sounds Plus Media. My mission is to amplify and share voices and stories through audio. My vision is to help everybody discover their story. Everybody has a story to tell, and my goal is to make sure that everybody do that. And my ultimate goal is to do that so you can build trust with your audience. And not only that, but to make sure your message is crystal clear. I cannot stand podcasts where the audio is, for lack of a better phrase, trash. It sounds bad, it's all gargly, and it's not good, not good. So that's what Optimistic Sounds Plus Media is here for. We help out whether you want to start a podcast or if you just want to talk to us and come up with some ideas. We're here to help. That's what we want to do. So yeah, here are the podcasts that we have worked with and have been under our umbrella, if you will. So my podcast, Young Black and Opinionated, started that back in 2016. And we've been rocking since. We got over 200 episodes. I think we're on 245 or 246 now. So can't keep counting anymore. But yeah, we've been doing that for a while. My very first client was such an affiliated podcast. I did them for free, and they allowed me to make all the mistakes I needed to make, whether it's erasing episodes that they did like an hour on or hour or more on. So thank you to them for allowing me to be able to, just put my feet to the fire and try it out. Cutting Up Cousins podcast is another podcast I host with two of my cousins, one from down south, one in here. We just chatted up, just talk about some old times we used to have and just have fun. Alive in Christ Church, I took the sermons from a pastor and my pastor, and I took that and turned it into a podcast. So if you want to kind of listen to his sermons on the go, you can definitely go ahead and do that. I have another client as well called the Black Butterfly Experience. She works in the mental health field, and she wanted to give folks an opportunity to kind of learn some of the tricks and trades of how to deal with either mental health family members, or if you have mental health issues or challenges, you can where to go, who to talk to, and then just kind of give you some tips on how to manage those challenges. Bianca talks politics, policy, and hip hop. She's merging hip hop and policy together. So people that might not be interested in politics, but kind of want to understand it, she kind of brings it down to their level and just makes culture and politics and policy together. On What Though Podcast is a sports podcast. Got three gentlemen coming together talking about all different types of stuff in sports, mainly right now, the NFL right now. Unfortunately, the Packers did not do well. Yeah, that was a big hot topic. And then Down to Mars, who's the host, is actually right there, sitting right there. Talking emerging Black tech and talking about tech, and we're gonna do a little revamping of that as well too. So super excited for that. And yeah, and then I've consulted with other podcasts as well too. So I'm looking to get more. So hopefully after this we can have a conversation about that.
Yeah, can I ask you about that? So you are on these podcasts, however, you do have a business assisting people with podcasts?
Yeah, so I'm on just two. I'm on two, and then all the rest of the podcasts I'm just assisting, helping produce episodes and things of that nature. I also, with one of the things I do as well too is a program called Brilliant Voices, where like I do in my daytime, I help students kind of figure out what they want to do podcasts. So it's just a summer program, giving them an opportunity to kind of touch mics and different equipment and things of that nature, and even come up with their own podcast and how to turn that into a business, right? So it's a program that comes in every summer. I'm trying to do it every summer, and yeah, just give them the opportunity just to try podcasting out, and also give them a voice as well too. That's the most important thing, is to give them a voice so they can talk about issues that they are having, and give them something to do too. So yeah. But yeah, I'm only on two podcasts here, and then I record the rest of them or consult the rest of them. So yeah. So this is the time I want to hear from you all. This is open mic. It's something I want to do. If those are in the chat, go ahead and just post your comments in the chat. Your name, give me your name, your business, and your favorite podcast. So anybody can start. Not all at once. Robert and scissors. Just kidding.
I can go.
Go ahead.
So my name is Mwanje Thompson. Hopefully those who are streaming can hear me okay. I'm founder of a local software company called Jet Constellations. We build custom apps. And we have a social impact arm called Milky Way Tech Hub. I'm a big fan of YBO and Bianca Talks. Those are my favorite podcasts.
I love your stuff. I'm excited to meet you. I feel like I always am following all of your stuff, and I'm a web developer, so I'm always like, oh, that's awesome. And yeah, I just think it's all great. So I know. I'm Meg Perzan. I have Milwaukee Web Designs, and I would say my favorite podcast is, I do like the Armchair Expert with Dak Shepard. I feel like he's a really good interviewer, and he's always really just down to earth with whoever he talks to. I just think he just does an incredible job connecting with his guests.
I'll go. My name is Shay Neighbors. I'm a real estate investor. I actually just launched like my real estate investing coaching and consulting business this year. So I'm interested in like kind of doing a podcast around that. And my business is called REI Platform. And my favorite podcast, I'm gonna choose two, because I really love the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. I listen to that a lot. It just brings it really down to earth and the people that I can really relate to. And my other podcast, it has a curse word in it, so I'm like, it's the Fuck Work podcast, and it's so funny. It's my favorite comedy one. So I listen to that, on the word, they kind of talk about HR stuff, because I'm an HR professional during the day. So they talk about like employee issues and people filling drug screens and all types of stuff like that. So.
Yeah, you got somebody in the chat as well too. We got Chris. He said, "Shout out to On What Though Podcast. Thanks for listening." Let's see. I don't have a business, but I am looking to create a brand. Excuse me. My favorite podcast is Breakfast Club, Brilliant Idiots, Power After Hours. I didn't know they had a podcast. Wow. YBO and On What Though. Okay, awesome. Appreciate it.
Serial podcast.
Yeah. A lot of stuff. All right. Oh, we got the co-host. I see you, Dexter Hilson, who's also on the Cutting Up Cousins. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it, cuz. All right. So yeah. So once again, my name is Mwanje. I have business Optimistic Sounds Plus. My favorite podcast right now is Earn Your Leisure podcast. I love Earn Your Leisure. They are two guys that both taught financial literacy in school, and they took that and turned it into a podcast, and they're blowing up everywhere. They talk about NFTs, stocks. They bought a truck. They had a guy that bought a truck, and they turned their business a truck business. They got a vending machine business. Like anybody that they talk to, they'll actually do the business themselves just to see and make sure that they can really make money from it. So it's real cool. They have a podcast, and they also have a YouTube channel as well too. So definitely check out Earn Your Leisure. We got Jamal here. All right. Earn Your Leisure as well. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I love Earn Your Leisure. I'm going to say Terry Simmons, definitely EYL as well too. Yep, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, EYL is a good podcast. Earn Your Leisure. They have some really great guests. The last episode I remember listening to was DJ Khaled. You would think that by him being a rapper and being funny and all that stuff like that, he wouldn't have anything to say. They were able to pull some really great gems out of him, especially about his time during Snapchat as well. So keep them coming. I will be taking a look into the chat as well too. We got somebody else. Yep, they have a vending machine business now. Yep, absolutely. So keep them coming in. All right, so the agenda for today, I don't want to waste your time at all, so let's get started. So we're going to talk about general podcast information, such as, it may sound rudimentary, but we're just going to say what is a podcast, so you guys can understand exactly what it is and how it works, where you can find them and all that good stuff, how to use a podcast for a small business. Once again, that's why you guys are here. Some metrics to look out for, and then equipment as well. I'm going to give you guys like some general ideas of how much the equipment costs, so you can know how much to break the bank on, and then some questions as well too. And once again, feel free to ask questions. You can interrupt me at any time. If you're like me, if I don't write them down, I'm going to forget them. So feel free to do so. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, general podcast information. So what is a podcast? Podcast is very simple. It's a digital audio file made available on the internet for downloading to a computer or a mobile device. So what you do is you record it on your computer, most likely. Most likely is a laptop. Anybody use desktops now still? No? I don't think so. Not even for website?
I mean, yeah, I guess I do, but
Okay.
I prefer
Right. It's portable, right? So you put it, you're right.
do it anywhere.
Yeah, you can do it anywhere. So, yep. So you just record it on your website, record it on your computer, or your laptop, and you upload it to a site, whether it's Anchor, SoundCloud, or a couple of places. And what they do is they disperse it to all of the different type of channels or platforms. So, and then you can download it from your mobile device and all that good stuff. So we'll talk about some places that you can actually listen to podcasts on. So, well, speaking of that, so we got all these different platforms and sites, and there are plenty more than just these, but these are the main ones that you'll probably hear. We got Spotify, we got Google Podcasts, we have Stitcher, SoundCloud, Anchor, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and there are so many other platforms. When I Google YBO Podcasts, I see so many sites that I don't remember putting my podcast on, but they just take that RSS feed, which is very, very important, and they just disperse it and put it on their website. Yep.
What is an RSS feed?
So the RSS feed is it's like what you do with your blog post, right? So it's a piece of technology where when you go, say for instance, on SoundCloud and you post your podcast on SoundCloud, it creates this link. And that link is so important because you take that link and you put it on different sites, and that's how you get your podcast to all those sites. So your main
Feed.
Yeah, it's a feed. So when you get on SoundCloud and you upload your podcast, any site that has that RSS feed, they automatically get updated. So I don't have to go to Apple or iHeart or Stitcher, Spotify to upload all my episodes on that. That RSS feed does it for me. So it's automatic. So
You just choose one?
You pick one platform.
Okay.
Yep. And then along the other platforms have that RSS feed. Now you may have to give them that RSS feed. You may have to go there manually and put the RSS feed there. After that, you're good to go. And then anytime you upload a podcast episode, it gets dispersed to all those channels. So, yes, sir. Yo, let's do it. Does an iPad Pro work for recording? Absolutely, it does. All you have to do is just make sure you get the audio file, which you can do, and then you just upload it to whatever platform you want to use. So you can use your iPad to record as well. Absolutely. So you don't even need a laptop. You can use a tablet as well too. So there's so many different opportunities to record a podcast. You don't have to spend so much money. But you know, the iPads are pretty expensive. I think those are in the thousands. So laptop actually might be cheaper. But yeah, you can definitely use the iPad Pro as well too. So yes, that is what an RSS feed is. So very important to have. Once you get that RSS feed, you're good to go.
Is it a fee for that? Like if you're uploaded to Apple or podcast or any of those, it's no fee or anything?
No, not at all. There's no fee at all. The only fee that you may have to pay is, say for instance, we use SoundCloud, YBO. So after maybe about 30 minutes to an hour, they're going to charge you for more hour. So they're going to say like, hey, if you want more time, I'm going to charge you X, Y, and Z. So we just pay the year subscription, and then you're good to go. And then you get unlimited amount of times. But other than that, there is no fee to put it on Apple or Spotify or Google. And like I said, most of the time, most websites, they'll just take your RSS feed and just put it on their site because they want people to listen to your podcast on their site. So the only thing you really have to do is go on each site and put your RSS feed on it. So, any other questions in the chat at all? Any other questions? Any other questions here? Great questions. Great questions. All right. So just to kind of give you an idea, once again, if you already know this, don't worry about it. But this is where you go to for Apple Podcasts. So this is kind of like where the hub is, where all the podcasts are located. You go here and you find your podcast. There's the opportunity to search, the listen now button as well too. And then of course, depending on what you listen, they'll give you some shows based off your algorithm, right? And then they also have the top shows as well too, which are usually the people that pay the most money to advertise right there. So, but you go to the search bar, you put in your show, you're good to go. There also is a follow button as well too, so you can automatically get those updates for your podcast. Yes.
So you can pay to get I guess you can pay for like anything. I didn't realize you could pay for ads for
oh yeah.
for that.
Yeah, oh absolutely. Those top shows, they got the money to do that. And of course they also have it's based off to your listens and all that good stuff to get their top shows as well. So you can definitely if you got the money to do that. But typically those shows are of the bigger, like the Athletic or here there I'm gonna go to this is the Spotify hub as well too. And based off of, like I said, listens and subscribers, you get to be on their main hub, if you will. So right now, Spotify, and this is from today, right now Spotify is doing their For and By Black Women. So any podcast that has a Black woman host and new releases, and then they have only Spotify episodes or podcasts. So if you're just if you have a deal with Spotify, you'll just be on those sites as well too. So just like music, where you know you can kind of pay to get in. They're saying you're not supposed to do that, but you can kind of pay to be on a playlist as well too. Some of that under the table stuff. So yeah, these are just the hubs for, once again, Apple and Spotify as well too. So this is what it looks like when you're looking to go and search for a podcast. So what makes a good podcast? So I've kind of, over my years, I've kind of taken a look at some of the podcasts I love and kind of created a little list of what makes a good podcast. So number one is personality. How are you on a podcast? How do you sound? Most people love or hate Charlamagne, right? Because because either you know who he is, you follow, you're a big fan of him, and you love the way he kind of asks questions, or you hate the way he asks questions, hate the way he always seems to be a hater, if you will. Another one of my favorite podcasts is the Joe Budden podcast. You may have heard of Family Guy, Pump It Up.
He's
That
also
rapper.
a love or hate person.
Yes, love or hate person, right? They very polarizing figures. And either you love them or you hate them. Right now, I kind of hate them right now because I don't like the way how that podcast broke up. But either way it goes, they demand presence, right? Even their voice demand presence. And even though they both have video and audio as well too, but your personality, how do you sound on a podcast? And people, do people love you or do they hate you? Clear target audience. There's so many podcasts out there. You need to make sure you know who you are talking to. So you want to make sure you define your audience. So if you're doing real estate, right, maybe it's people that are looking for a home, or maybe they're looking to flip houses. Same thing, websites, right? Maybe people are looking to figure out, either start their own website, or maybe come to you and say, hey, I'm looking to maybe hire you for a website. What do you know? Knowledge, expertise, right? Same thing. You know how to flip houses, or do you know how to real estate, websites, things of that nature? Do you know what you're talking about, right? And people can, of course, we all know, people can tell right away if you know what you're talking about. Storytelling and editing, right? How are you editing your podcast? Are there glitches in your podcast? Like I said, when I first started out, my editing was terrible. I was chopping words and putting conversations that didn't make sense together, and it was bad. But also with the storytelling as well too. Some podcasts I've worked with, they wanted to create a scripted podcast. So putting the music in the background, like how are you doing that? So how are you telling a story? And then the 2 stars that I have here is production quality and consistency. Like I said, if it sounds very gargly, it doesn't sound clear, it's not good. And then the most important thing is consistency. I've seen and worked with a lot of podcasts that started off well, and then they just stopped. So consistency, because with our podcast, there are times where we just took a break, and people are just, hitting us on Facebook, Instagram, like, hey, where's the episode? Where's the show? Because a lot of people submit this in their lives where they might go to the gym and listen to your podcast at work or whatever. I know you all probably have your podcast that you listen to when you went to the gym and things of that nature. So yes, let's take a look in the chat here. Do you think you can be a good podcast without necessarily being so polarizing? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, you don't have to be polarizing at all. If you have a topic that you want to talk about, and you just be yourself, right? You don't have to necessarily be that. Now we know that the Charlamagnes and the Joe Buddens, they do that because they even say themselves, like, they know how to command and get the websites talking, right? All those crazy websites talking. So, but you can just be yourself and still have a great podcast. You don't have to be polarizing at all. Unless you want to be. I don't know, is that something you want to do? No, I'm just kidding. But back to consistency though, consistency is very, very important. You can stop and come back, but if you are consistently doing that, your audience it's a wrap for your audience. So any questions, any thoughts and concerns on what makes a good podcast? You guys have any
How many people is, I'm sorry, how many people is too many people to have a co-host?
Oh, that's good. So it's 3 of us. It really, it depends on how well you gel. I wouldn't say no more than 5.
I see a lot.
But it depends on how you gel. Like if you know your role on the podcast, maybe like, so for instance, let's say it's 3 on the Breakfast Club, right? Because I've been listening forever, I know how they work. So, DJ Envy is the A mic. He's the one that gets them in and out of transitions. Angela Yee is the one that does the room reports, and then Charlamagne is the polarizing one. That fit makes sense because maybe I know there's another podcast, that's a sports podcast. They have 4 people. One person is the A mic, one person is the person that maybe do this certain segment. So if you can segment it in a certain way, you can have as many people as you, I won't say as many people as you want. I'm gonna say no more than 5, but as long as everybody understands the roles. But I do not like podcasts that are talking over each other and interrupting each other. It's just not good. So as long as everyone knows their roles, I think you're good. But we have 3. 3 has been the magic number for me. So yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, like is weekly good or bi-weekly or?
It depends on how you set your audience up. So you set your audience up how you want it. So if you start off bi-weekly, continue bi-weekly, unless you're gonna tell them, hey, I'm gonna give you guys more because you want it. But if you start off bi-weekly, continue bi-weekly. You just set it up with your audience here. And also depends on your time too. Like if you're a busy person, maybe bi-weekly, maybe once a month is good, right? So it just depends on your schedule, depends on your time, and also how you set up your audience. Yep.
So what advice would you give to somebody who's just extremely busy but wants to have a podcast?
Mhm.
Like, how do you advise them to manage?
That's on my list.
I would say you would have to find a schedule and stick to it. If you want to create a team, you can do that. It might not necessarily be the best thing, maybe an intern. But I would say you really have to stick with your schedule and understand what is within your wheelhouse. Because if you're busy, then it's not good.
So maybe batching them. What I found to
Yeah.
be helpful for me is like, okay, well then let me do a week where I focus on this
Yep.
and get 10 episodes out. I know that's difficult for people who have current events, right? Then you can't do that as much, but.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, batching is really, really good. Batching is good. That's a great point. Definitely batch.
Doing it one day, like
Mhm.
they just do all their podcasts in one day out of the month, and then they schedule it out. So kind of just looping it all together and only with one thing at one time.
And that's why it's good to be a niche podcast, because with us, we not only we talk about current events, and maybe some other random miscellaneous topics. But if you're niche, you can batch, like you said, you can batch. You don't have to worry about, current topic, unless there's something like going in the housing market that maybe you need to really get in. But yeah, you batch. You're ready to
An
take one.
example of that is like if I were to batch, but then there was this scandal with Facebook and their data, right? Of course, I'm not gonna go in and talk about that for my audience, but then that gets tricky, right? Because then I have to find the time.
Yeah, we got a question in the chat. How fast can you tell if a podcast is worth listening to based off of what makes a good podcast? Maybe a couple episodes. Some podcasts I have just shut off right away because either the quality was bad, everybody's talking over each other. Like if they're not hitting on some of these things here, then for me, I'm not listening to them. But some podcasts that I love to this day, I just took some time for me. Like I said, Earn Your Leisure. They had already had episodes up, and I just listened to their latest episodes. And after I was like, this is not bad, let me go back. Then I ended up going through the whole list of podcasts. So if they're not really hitting these, and maybe there's some personal things for you that maybe it's religious, maybe whatever it is that, that isn't hitting for you, then, go ahead and turn it off. But for me, if it's personality, clear target audience, if it's this podcast for me, their knowledge, do they understand what they're talking about? Like I said, if you listen to Earn Your Leisure, they know what they're talking about. And then also they test what they're talking about as well too. Like I said, they have vending machines now and trucks now because they talk to someone and they're like, we're gonna try this out, and then let our team or our audience know, hey, this works, you all should do it too. So yeah, great question. But that is subjective as well too. Like I said, for me, if it's not hitting the first episode. I'm good. I'm good. Any other questions? All right, how we doing on time here? 30 minutes, cool. How do you podcast for a small business? Let's go ahead and dive into it. So, reasons why you should start a podcast for a small business, for your business. Number one, it doesn't cost much to get started. You're looking to build an audience, to create partnerships, position yourself as an industry leader, build your brand, and promote your product or service. So these are some of the reasons why you should start a podcast. So let's go ahead and dive into those. Startup costs for a podcast. So microphones, the cost can either be from $30 to about $500 or even more, right? But you're going to tell the difference from those different type of prices, right? So the $30 microphone is not going to sound like the $500 microphone. So keep that in mind. Computer, we talked about the iPad Pro. You can add that in there as well too. You can get a low-end computer and be good to go, right? Most like us, all of us, we have a laptop, so we're good to go. Recording and editing software. If you want the top of the line stuff, you can pay subscription price costs, but for the most part, there are free tools out there for everyone to use. Just the top of my hand, Audacity. If you have a Mac computer, Apple computer, GarageBand is free. I still use GarageBand. They also have Logic Pro as well too that you have to pay for, but there are plenty of free tools that are out there. Headphones on the low end, probably $25, probably even lower than that. I do recommend the over-the-ear headphones instead of earbuds because the louder you are, the louder things sound, you can get that feedback into your mic. So definitely get those over-the-ear headbuds. Podcast hosting is free. We talked about SoundCloud where they give you like that first 30 minutes to an hour. But there's also sites as well too called Anchor that I've used for a lot of my clients just to test it out. It's called Anchor.fm. And it's free to use. They actually have a partnership with Spotify. So as soon as you get logged into Anchor.fm, your podcast is automatically on Spotify. And then after a certain time frame, they work for you, and they actually put your podcast on Apple and all these other sites as well too. So they're great. They're a great service to use if you're starting out and you kind of want to test out how to podcast. And then the budget for podcasting can be between $55 to $1,000 plus, depending on the equipment that you use and all those good things. So, any questions on the startup costs? Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a model where you get a sponsorship before you even start the podcast?
No, I have not. Well, I take that back. So if you are a celebrity, most likely you're going to do that. So when I was shopping around before I got the job that I have now, I was shopping around opportunities for a place called Stitcher, which actually I showed you guys. And they had celebrity hosts. Their episodes weren't done yet at all, but they had already put money behind them, and they were getting ready to produce them and ready to go. They had all the brand partnerships and everything ready to go. So sometimes with celebrity podcasts, they already have the sponsorships and the money ready to go. Unless you already have a relationship with your brand and sponsor, it's most likely probably not going to happen. So if you have a partnership with a company already ready to go, and you're telling them, hey, we're going to do a podcast, I want to sponsor you, do a brand partnership with your podcast, you're good to go. Yeah.
The reason why I asked is because I actually ran into a woman maybe a year or so ago who like had a one-pager and was trying to get Milky Way to be like a sponsor. Like, this is what I'd like to present. Well, kind of like an event. Like before events, most times you have a sponsor to pay for it. Why not a podcast?
You can definitely do that if you have a relationship with that partnership before. Like you said, one pager is good. You just have to really sell them on. Yeah.
And I would assume that you're gonna get a 15-second clip of, within mine. And I would think brands would be
interesting.
Yeah.
It's very much like events. Every event I'm sure has sponsors for it. It's something to think about.
No, that's a great thought. And like you said, if you have an idea of what your podcast is going to be about, and you're shopping around to the correct partners, it can happen.
Would there be a way, for you to tell them, okay, this is my audience, and I'm ranging that this many people would listen?
Yeah, what would be best to do that is benchmark, say, all right, this type of podcast is in my wheelhouse. This is what they get. I'm pretty sure I can get that, at least that, and then maybe more depending
And
on
that
the relationship.
information's out there?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. There are different tools.
Okay.
Yep.
Nope. That was just
Yeah, I'm saying, no, yeah, all right, there are different tools. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I believe it's called Edison, who they actually do podcast research. They just recently came out last year with the data for Black podcast listeners. And I think now they're doing, I think this year they're gonna do podcast listener within the Hispanic community. And then they've already done their podcast listenership for just all across the board. So I believe it's called Edison. I can check that for you. They already have that listenership just of all the information. And then same thing with individual podcasts. You can definitely do that. A lot of podcasts like to flex. So they'll most likely post their stats themselves. This kind of lets you know like how many subscribers they have and things of that nature. So a lot of podcasters flex. And they're doing that for the partnerships, right? So maybe, or get deals or what have you. So they're doing that to flex. So building an audience, emails work, right? Newsletters, a lot of podcasters, they kind of step away from newsletters because they want to be more informal, but newsletters work. One thing that I use is called, is the texting app called Community. So a lot of restaurants, vegan restaurants, I can't think of the name of the vegan restaurant now. She actually is a big promoter of Community, but getting that texting, right? It's very, very good to get that phone number. And you can just shoot a text right away. So instant, people check their phones. They got their phones right now. I'm actually phone right in front of you right now. So imagine getting a text message right away about the latest episode of a podcast or whatever, maybe a guest that you're having on that's really huge. You can get that right away and people are going to listen to it and word of mouth travels. They can just copy that text and send it all to their friends. And now you got like hundreds of people ready to go listen to that podcast.
Does that cost?
Yes, so Community costs $99 a month, I believe. But I think if you're starting out, they give you like a free promotion, a 2-month promotion or something like that. But yeah, it's $99 a month. And like I said, it's really good. They have some really great data. They collect the data of how many people are in your texting community. So it's really good. It's really good. Oh, there you go, Marcel. Thank you so much, Marcel. You put it in the chat here of Edison research. Thank you so much. Yeah, so texting community. There's also another app called, Superphone. Superphone, I believe, was right before Community, but Community is kind of the really big common app to use. So definitely check that out. Creating partnerships. We talked about partnerships here. Working with other small business podcasts. I think that's a great opportunity. One of the things that I've learned is that you can just go on other podcasts and give yourself a shout out. It can come to your podcast. One of the things I've also done as well too is just create little clips, have other podcasts create little clips. If you want to do ads, you can do ads in those podcasts in between your podcast. I try to stay away from ads, but if it makes sense though, I would do the ads. And a lot of times the ads that we've done, we've actually created scripts for them ourselves that made it look more authentic as opposed to someone maybe coming in and having conversations. Another thing that I hate as well too is when podcasts would do their shows and then an ad just come right in the middle of a conversation. I've seen it.
That's what we do.
Yeah, Earn Your Leisure does that a lot. I love Earn Your Leisure, but they do that a lot. When it's getting good, an ad just come right in. It's like,
It's like never at a good point either. I was like,
No, I remember, what's his name? T.I. had a podcast and like someone messed up where the ad came in. He was still talking over the ad. It was bad. It happened a couple of times. So that's why I said editing is very, very important. But working with small businesses and a great opportunity to promote other brands on your podcast as well too. So if you've got someone that doesn't want to be on your show, you want to create a partnership with them, hey, put them on your show as well too, or broadcast that brand. And also if you're doing video podcasts, that's a great opportunity just to have that, have that whatever it is in the ad, or maybe just on the table while you're doing whatever you're doing. And then you can just quickly shout them out as well too. All right, position yourself as an industry leader. Show your audience why you are the expert. And then what's really cool too, to know that you are an industry leader, interview other industry leaders. That we know that you can get pulled and that you're actually really in this community and people know what you're talking about, right? Build your brand. So podcasting can be the hub for your content. So think about if you do an 1.5-hour show, right? you can take that show and just break it up into so many pieces of content that you can have it throughout the week and post multiple times a day. A lot of the apps like TikTok and Instagram, they love it. They love you posting on their apps. And if you can just take that piece of content and just really take from it and create really great content from it, you can definitely do that. So one of the things I like doing is taking the clips from a podcast and then matching it up with other videos. So Kobe just passed, right? And maybe you're talking about motivation. You can take your clip from motivation and put it on a clip of Kobe doing like maybe some workouts or something like that, and boom, now you're getting people to come in, they're listening to your clip, and you're good to go. So I love video mashups as well too. Those are really good. If you're someone that doesn't want to be on camera, but you still want to take advantage of the video aspect of it, all you got to do is just take your audio clip and boom, you're good to go. And then you can take the audio clip, and there's caption apps as well too. So like transcribing, you can transcribe your audio and turn it into a blog as well. So if you're a person that likes to write, take your message, transcribe it. A good app is called Descript that I put in here. Take that place will upload your audio and they'll transcribe it for you, copy it, take it what you got to do, make sure you do your edits or whatever, and boom, you're good to go. So from a podcast, just from your voice, from your audio, you can take your audio and create this whole entire network of content. Once again, not to plug Earn Your Leisure, need to give me some money because I'm going to talk about them a lot. But that's exactly what they do. They take their content, their hour-long content or more, and they just break it up and turn it into audio, or they turn it into audio clips and video clips, and then just spread it out like that. So it's really good.
I don't know if this is the right place to ask this question, but I feel like this relates on like the whole like search engine optimization piece and like getting your stuff out there. Is that, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because we know that a blog is a really great thing, because Google's like, oh, okay, there's more content we can pull from. This sounds like a really reputable site. And even with your podcast, you can create a website for your podcast. We've done that. We had like we'll kind of stop now, but we had like mini blogs for each of those hosts. So mine was called the Gentleman Corner, where I have conversation with men and we just have just random conversations. I took those pieces of those clips of audio and just put it on there and created a blog from it. And and now not only is our podcast talking about whatever X, Y, and Z, now I can do keywords for my blog, and now we're getting that the SEO going as well too. So yeah, I see you, Marcel. Yeah, turn that podcast into a blog real easy. You don't have to sit down and write anymore. You can just talk it out and then go ahead and post it. So yeah. And yeah, like I said too, websites for podcasts are good. Sometimes people would want to pop on your website if you've got merch or anything like that. Definitely do that as well too, so you can boost your SEO up as well. So definitely do that. So build your brand. Promote your product or service. So this is like a layup, right? This is very easy to do. Tell your audience how they can buy your product or service on your podcast. Hey, by the way, since you're here, we sell X, Y, and Z service. We do X, Y, and Z service. Another incentive that you can do as well too is discounts, right? Maybe wait till the end of your show and say, well, thank you for listening. Since you got this far, here's 10% off of whatever, right? And then what's cool is so you can measure that, and we're gonna talk about metrics in a few minutes. Maybe create a code. Say, hey, go to our website, put in code blah, 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 and then you'll get either a free product or 10% off. And then that way, whoever goes to the website, whoever uses your code, that is a direct translation from the website or from the podcast to the website. So that's a great way to measure it. And you can do unique things as well too. I was telling Marcel before, like a lot of podcasts now are getting into NFTs. Maybe there's an opportunity to take your podcast and transcribe it and do an NFT. One of the things I want to do is so non-fungible token. So it's in the crypto space. So basically, what it is, it's like you take crypto and you put like art, or you put like different pieces to it. So one of the things that you can do is, say for instance, you create a crypto NFT, right, or coin, right? Whoever buys that coin, they have lifetime membership with your podcast. So Now they bought this coin, say for instance, let's say it's a high amount, 500 to maybe 1,000, however you want to do it, right? And if that person buys that, they get lifetime access to all your shows, discount off your merch, all that good stuff. So that's just an opportunity or something that you can do as well too, if you want to get into that crypto space. And that space can get a little murky, but there are a lot of podcasts that are doing that as well. Another thing you can do, since we're here, you can also do create your certain episodes behind a paywall. You could do Patreon, right? A lot of podcasts are doing Patreon, and they have different tiers. Maybe some of your fans are in the $5 tier, the $15 tier, and then those really cool fans that really love what you're doing, you can put them in the $30 tier, and they get all the perks of all the other tiers. So something else that you can do as well too. I know that I joined the Joe Budden Patreon, and it was great. They had a lot of different things I can listen to. I think I was just in the middle tier, and they also had a Discord channel. So there's different things that you can do to really contact and talk to your podcast as well too. I got a thumbs up. Yes, good. All right, so about 15 minutes here. All right, so promote your product or service. Metrics. So here are some of the metrics that you want to look for with your podcast. Of course, you want to take a look at the number of subscribers, who's subscribing to your podcast, who are getting those automatic updates, numbers of listens and downloads as well. Downloads are really important. A lot of companies are looking to see who are downloading those episodes, and of course, listens are as well too. The social engagement, who's those insights, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, all those good things. The number of visits on the podcast pages. This also goes to your website as well too. You want to take a look at that. The number of leads through podcast-driven content. So like your blog, if somebody goes to your blog, did they go to your podcast as well? Number of forum chat demo conversations on podcast pages as well too for your small business. And then the number of listens converted into meetings, right? Who listened to your podcast and decided to have a meeting with you. So you can use your podcast to do that as well too. So yeah, any questions on that? But if you're just looking at just your podcast, I would say the top two, maybe even three metrics are what's important, right? The number of subscribers and the number of listens and downloads, right? The number of subscribers and listeners will really help you kind of go into those offices and say, hey, I have X, Y, and Z listeners. Here's my podcast. Pay me money. so yeah. Any questions?
I do. So like will SoundCloud or whatever give you this information on the podcast? So
Yeah.
Something just waits on the platform?
Yeah, so there isn't a site that gives all your information, but SoundCloud does give you that, right? So we use SoundCloud. They tell us how many people listen through all of the platforms. But I still like to go to like Apple and Spotify just to see if there are any differences, and there are. Sometimes it's a little higher, sometimes a little lower. So you will have to scour and kind of get all your data and put it all together if you want to have those meetings and conversations for brand partnerships and things of that nature. But yeah, those sites do give you that information. Any other questions? Anything in the chat? All right, we're going to the last leg here. All right, let's talk about equipment. So there are different types of mics. I'm just going to give you the two different types of mic. I'm not going to get into all of the fanciness of the mics. There are two different types of mics. There's either your USB mics or your XLR mics, right? So the XLR mics are right here. These mics require a little bit more handling. So with the XLR mics, it's not a plug and play like the USB mics. USB mics, you just put it in, boop, you're ready to go. The XLR mics, they need a little bit more. So as you can kind of see here, I think I'm going to go with that. There is a little cord that you have to buy as well too. So you have to buy that cable. You can see it right here as well too. You have to buy that cable. And then there is a mixer. We're going to talk about that a little bit sooner as well too. So if you're wanting to start your own podcast and you want to kind of get that, kind of go for the XLR type of mics, you can do that. The reason why you want to go with these type of mics is they have a little bit better sound quality than the USB mics. There are some really good USB mics on the market, but these mics are the best mics to go with if you want a little bit more customization. So the mic that I use is the Shure mic here. This mic is the mic that if you go to any Guitar Center and you want to start recording something, they're going to automatically try to upsell you on this mic. The reason why is because this mic was what Michael Jackson used to record Thriller on. and they will tell you that till you're blue in the face. So that is the mic that they use. Michael Jackson used to record Thriller. Also, this is the mic that the Breakfast Club uses as well too. So if you're a big fan of the Breakfast Club and you see them, moving that mic around and stuff like that, that is the same mic that they're using. So like I said, it's a little bit on the higher end, but the quality is great. It doesn't pick up a lot of background noise. It's really good. Like I said, it's a little bit on the higher end. And then you got some mics right here that are XLR mics that are on the lower end. So you got the $22 mic. I also have that mic as well too. Just for my students, because they like to, drop stuff. So yeah. So you can get all different type of mics. There are different type of ranges, right? So XLR mic and USB mic, you can decide what you want to do. If you're a person that loves to plug and play, by all means, go ahead and get a USB mic. It does the job as well too. But if you want to get a little bit more customization, get those XLR mics. All right, so now getting into the mixers and audio phases, so audio interfaces. So if you decide to get the XLR mics, these are some of the options that you can do and use for your mic. So up here are what we call the mixers. These are a little more difficult to kind of use because there's a lot of handling involved. As you can see, there's like plenty of knobs here. And if you don't understand these knobs, you can kind of mess up your sound. When I bought this board, actually, when I started working with my first podcast, and because I already knew how to use some of those sounds, but even then, there's a lot of knobs that I didn't touch at all. So it can get very tricky. Now, I also have this as well too. These are what we call audio interfaces. And like I said, we're getting a little bit technical, but I just kind of want to let you guys know what's some of the things that are out there. These are a little simpler to use. All you do is plug it in, and then you can turn your knob up, your volume up or down. Same thing for your headphones as well too. And as you can see, the ranges are crazy, right? You got some that's for $100. This is $90 all the way up to $300, and then that is just ridiculously crazy. I don't have that because I think it's too much. It's overpriced. But a lot of musicians use this type of interface as well too. So, but all these things can be bought at either Guitar Center, Amazon, Best Buy. Make sure you get insurance. I just broke one of my boards the other day. I just took it to Rhodes, who owns it, and they just emailed me back, and they were like, "Yeah, it's gonna take about a good 3 to 4 weeks to get it fixed." And it's just all I did was break off the USB insert, and it just fell into the mic or to the board, and I'm like, I can hear the thing jiggling, like just put it in there. But yep, 3 to 4 weeks. So there we go. So I'm back to using this thing here. But yeah, so these are some examples of equipment that you can use. Once again, if you're just looking to kind of figure out if you want to do this thing, by all means, get a USB mic for about $50, maybe $200, and you're good to go. Like I said, get that at Best Buy, Amazon, or Guitar Center as well too. So that is it. If you want to contact us, you can reach me here, Mwanje at opsoundsmedia.com, or if you want to go to our website, it's opsoundsmedia.com. That's OPTZ. Excuse me, OPTSOUNDZ media.com. All right. So it's basically the back half of that email address there. It's opsoundsmedia.com. And phone number 414-510-4008. So you can text me as well, leave me a message, and I'll make sure I get back to you as well. And since we're here, we got about another 6 minutes here. Are there any questions? Anything I might have missed?
Yeah. So do you do the podcasting out of here?
No, I've been talking to Marcel, and it's
Okay.
one of the things we're gonna plan on doing. So
Like they have the equipment here and everything?
yep, they have
Okay.
equipment here, and I'm gonna bring some more equipment as well too, so we can get more hosts and things of that nature. But yes, he has the space to do it, and I'm excited to get some folks in here. We got some really cool things that we want to do to kind of bring the community out to podcast with
Yeah,
us.
that's really
Yeah, so he definitely has the space to do that, and I'm excited to work in that space as well too. So yeah. Yep. Any other questions? Anything I need to go back to that you want to write down at all, or?
There was one slide, that was like towards the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was, like after the personality one. Okay. Oh, yeah, this is the one.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, it doesn't cost much to get started.
Mhm.
Build an audience, create partnerships, position yourself as an industry leader. If you have, go ahead, please build your brand and promote your podcast or product or service. Right. My thing of what, like I said, for small businesses, my favorite thing is just say what your product is. Promote your brand and service. And like I said, put codes on there, especially at the end of the episode, just to see how long people are staying on there. Because a lot of times, one of the things that we measure in our surveys that we create is how long are your audiences listening to your podcast. If they're listening to only 30% of your podcast, maybe you need to shorten time. So, yeah, so, yep, I thought so. Another question.
How do you find that out?
Just create a survey. Just create a survey and just, entertain, extra listeners.
I was
Hey.
sure like SoundCloud.
No, SoundCloud doesn't, anything after a minute, they count that as a listen. So that's what I said. The tools are kind of, still, there aren't many tools out there that could gauge on how long. So that's why you would have to probably ask your audience yourself and say, hey, how long do you listen to it? And then just kind of gauge from there. So, but I would prefer, especially niche podcasts, try to keep it very short and sweet, succinct to the point. 15 to 20 minutes, 30 minutes. If you got a guest, try to keep it very short so you can get people in and out. And if you're batching too, that's going to help as well. So if you got 30-minute podcasts, you can do, a couple of hours and they're only 30 minutes. So that's a great tool to do as well. So yeah, any other questions? Anything in the chat? Trying to stay within this hour time frame here. Got 3 more minutes.
Is there anything that we should do special to promote a podcast, like differently, or do we just use like kind of our existing audience that we may have already established?
Yeah, so if you're starting a podcast, if you got a newsletter already, just put it in the newsletter. You can embed it right into the newsletter. People just click on it and go right to where they need to go. Like I said, if you got the text messaging tools, I will start maybe collecting phone numbers as well too. So you can just text them and say, hey, new podcast episode coming up, or just gauge, say, hey, what do you guys want to learn about? Boom, they'll text you right back. Oh, I don't building my credit. Who can I talk to do X, Y, and Z? Whatever it is. And you don't necessarily have to do live shows or anything like that. Find a community of people that are already doing what you're doing right now. That's a great way to just have a conversation with them and talk with them and hop on their show if they're pretty cool people. I found that a lot of people that are in the podcast community are pretty cool people. They just love conversation. Just reach out to them and say, hey, I'm just starting my podcast. I only got a couple episodes, but I'd love to come on and promote my podcast and vice versa. So just kind of getting out there, but definitely use those regular tools, social media, things like that to, and unique ways as well too. I'm trying to think of a unique way that someone can do their podcast, but texting is really one of my favorite tools because I just get right to my audience. So yeah. Any other questions? Cool. 2 more minutes. Well, if not, thank you all so much. I truly appreciate this opportunity to have this conversation with you. If there's any other questions, feel free to let me know. Contact me. I'd be more than happy to help. Yeah, I just love podcasting. So there is some, like I said, there are some incredible tools out there that are still coming out, and podcasts still hasn't scratched the surface yet.
Do you upload, like, do you have a central data location? Because I imagine it's a lot of audio. Do you just keep that on your computer, or do you like do it on a cloud or
hard drive? Like I'm a rapper or something. Like I got a hard drive. Right, can't lose that hard drive. You know what I'm saying? Kanye West is like, I will pay somebody to get that hard drive back. Like, oh wait a minute. And trust me, like I said, I've lost so many episodes. It's been funny. There's some people that were mad at me. And they get some discounts. So
All right.
Turn it back
Yeah,
over.
all righty, can we get a chat? I see some claps in the chat as well. Turn it up to Mwanje. Thank you so much for kicking off our first Collaboration Corner of 2020 and dropping so much knowledge and gems. And I was over there taking notes as well. So appreciate it. Please stay tuned for more events. So thanks everyone for attending. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
What is your Instagram and Twitter so that we can tag?
Okay.
Talking about yours.
Me or Mwanje?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Okay, so Ambition Center at Ambition Center MKE. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
I'm Sounds, OPT Sounds Media on Instagram, Twitter, mainly Instagram and TikTok as well too. Yeah, we're trying to do.
And that sounds with a Z.
Yep, sounds what it is.